Welcome to the Dragon Soul Breakdown previews. These short videos aim to give you an early access to strategies that are usable for early progression in Dragon Soul. Within a few weeks, full guides and breakdowns will be posted. For this particular guide, I will give you a brief overview of the Morchok 10-man heroic encounter. During this guide, I'm going to cover the entire fight and emphasize 3 critical mechanics. The fight consists of 2 phases which alternate. The first phase is referenced as the crystal phase, and the second one is the black blood phase. The crystal phase will begin once Morchok reaches 90% HP, where he splits into 2 identical adds called Morchok and Korkrom. These adds will be split and handled identically by 2 5-man groups. If you're doing the fight on normal mode, you will simply apply the strategies but with 1 10-man group instead. As for the group composition, I would recommend going with 2 tanks and 2 or 3 healers together with 5 or 6 DPS during progression for 10-man heroic. For normal mode, you will copy the same setup, and for 25-man, you will essentially just scale up the composition from a 10-man standard setup. Your raid will split up into 2 even groups with at least 1 tank and 1 healer in each of the groups, the remainder being DPS. Each of the groups will be assigned to either killing Korkrom or Morchok. Both of the bosses share health pool, so multi-dotting here is king. The mechanics work similarly to how Rhyolith's legs in Firelands work. Before covering the heroic section of this fight, I want to address the normal mechanics. Apart from the mechanics that are going to be displayed, you also have a normal tank swap mechanic where the tank will receive a stacking debuff reducing their armor. Apart from this tank swap, every single mechanic should be identical to the upcoming section. The first important mechanic we're going to cover is called Stomp. This is going to occur about 3 to 4 times during each crystal phase and needs to be handled by each of the 5-man groups. Morchok or Korkrom will stomp the ground, dealing high damage, split evenly among all targets within 25-yard range of the boss. The target of the boss, as well as the closest player, will take double the amount of damage, so having a DPS with active mitigation is key for this part. Apart from this, the tank will take an additional 100% physical damage for 10 seconds after the stomp goes out, so cycle defensives accordingly. It's absolutely crucial that the entire 5-man group on each of the bosses are in 25-yard range of their respective boss when this goes out to help soaking the damage. The second mechanic is called Resonating Crystal. This spawns a red crystal on the ground which links itself to the closest 3 players. After about 12 seconds, the crystal will explode and knock back the linked players. Damage is proximity based, so you will designate 3 players from each of the 5-man groups to be your designated soakers. It's important for your soakers to run up really close to the crystal before it explodes, and you should aim to never overlap stomp on an explosion of the crystal. This mechanic will go out about 2 to 3 times per crystal phase. After approximately 60 to 80 seconds, the crystal phase will end, and you will enter the black blood phase for about 30 seconds. The black blood phase will have 3 sequential attacks, which should never really be a threat to your raid. First, you will be submerged and pulled in under the bosses. Once you reach the boss, they will start dropping pillars from the sky, which should be dodged while running away from the boss. Last, they will channel black blood, spewing out from their center. When this happens, you want to be positioned behind a pillar to avoid all damage. It's worth noting that ranged DPS can still be stood a bit behind 2 close pillars and DPS the boss here. After this part, you simply rinse and repeat the mechanics until you reach 20% HP. Once you reach 20%, the bosses will enrage and you will pop Bloodlust and big offensive cooldowns. Long story short, the bosses hit very hard after 20%, so while doing the same mechanics as before, quickly kill the boss. Thank you all for watching. I'll be posting a couple of previews during the PTR period to get you started in this raid tier. Once we reach launch, full detailed guides will be posted, so make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss any content. See you next time.